Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here on Watchbox Reviews. I'd really appreciate it, and I'd be able to deliver my best to your inbox on a daily basis. If you like this watch, well, you can see it and all of its friends, or even buy it on our website, thewatchbox.com, where all of our watches are listed. You can buy, trade, and sell late model, pre-owned, luxury, and vintage timepieces on our website 24 hours a day on thewatchbox.com. So today we're discussing my favorite Grand Seiko diver. This is the Grand Seiko Spring Drive Diver SBGA031, 200 meters water resistant, and composed of titanium. It is powered by the redoubtable spring drive principle, which we'll discuss in greater depth when we jump into the movement. For now, just know that it is an extraordinary combination of engineering and aesthetics, and ergonomics for that matter. On my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, it's a 44.2 millimeter case. Now that doesn't include the crown or the crown guard structure. The watch is relatively thick as well, but not thick by dive watch standards, as 14 millimeters with a fairly rounded case flank and bezel means it will actually slip underneath some dress sleeves, not just the jacket, but the dress sleeve beneath the jacket. Pretty impressive in its profiling and fairly compact given the size of the watch. The timepiece has two relative measurements across the wrist, which is to say, if you were to avail yourself of those strap tool holes to pull the bracelet and fit it to a strap, you'd find the distance across the wrist lug to lug is 50.5 millimeters. Now if you include the solid end links of the bracelet, it increases its stance a bit to a more robust 53.1. In my estimation, you could wear this watch on a wrist as small as 14.5 centimeters in circumference. I would even say 14 might be possible. The watch might be a bit ungainly in size, but thanks to the titanium construction, which makes it 30% lighter than the SBGA 29 steel equivalent of this watch, it opens up new avenues of opportunity for smaller wrists that might not like the block of steel, but could easily handle the lightweight and hypoallergenic titanium. Now I want to pop open the bracelet and show you just how over-engineered this clasp is. You have a clamshell for security, true, but you also have twin triggers. Press them and now the bracelet opens. This one's not popping open by accident. You have a adjustment system that is incremental, so you can go whole hog and throw it over a large dive suit or a thick winter coat, or you can make small sizing changes to allow your wrist to expand or contract, or even get the close approximation of an awardee's wrist for a graduate or a person marking a milestone in their professional life. And if you can get close, you can use this adjustment mechanism to let them fine-tune on site. So you can get very close to the proper measurement when giving this watch as a gift. There are many opportunities to use an incremental adjustment system. The clasp holds secure, and it's matched with a handsome 3-link style bracelet. It's got a little bit of Rolex oyster to it, but the finish is more impressive than what you'll see from Rolex. All of titanium. The reason I hail the finish is because a lot of it's applied by hand, such as this hairline polished bevel along the shoulders of the links. You also note satin finish on the flanks, satin finish on the top, and some small accenting strips down the center in high polish. It looks less industrial than it does artisanal. It would be appropriate on a more dress-oriented watch, but it's solid and secure. Now, this is an older model, as it debuted in 2008. You can see back then pins and sleeves were the way to go for Grand Seiko dive watch link sizing. So the pins and sleeves are very secure against backing out. They're more secure than screws in that respect, but this is one measure by which you can actually tell the age of the watch. Now the watch debuted in 2008 and it was produced with the Seiko signed dial until 2016. 2017 it was replaced by the SBGA 231. What's the difference? Well, the primary difference is that it now says Grand Seiko at 12 o'clock. It was a bit of a rebranding exercise, same fundamental product. Let's get close. So now you can see the watch up close, and one element that I want to call out is just how beautifully made the case is. Now, whether titanium or steel, at this price point, Grand Seiko is giving you their famous hand-applied Zaratsu optically flawless polish. Whereas Rolex cases haven't been hand-finished for a generation, it's still the rule for many Grand Seiko products, including hardcore divers like this Spring Drive SBGA 031. You can see it has a fluid combination of compound curves, and the light dances across its surface. It even has a number of hard creases to add an element of masculinity to the soft feminine curves and arcs. This is an interesting case, nicely made, and again, it's all down to hand pressure applied by the artisans who make these watches to ensure that all the facets are even in measurements and cleanly finished. That is impressive for a watch that doesn't cost 5 figures. Now the bezel. The bezel is another area where the watch in some ways shows its age. It's an excellent bezel. It's secure. It has a very refined detent, think Blancpain 50 fathoms, but it also has an ADLC cap, which means it's amorphous diamond-like carbon, not a ceramic insert. Now, on the one hand, that means it's not quite as scratch-resistant as ceramic. On the other hand, as Grand Seiko will say, it also can't be cracked or fractured, so on a tool watch basis, it's the superior choice. Now, rotating that luminescent pearl to align with the broad arrow style minute hand, now you've got an impromptu 0 to 60 minute timer. It's a great way for timing intervals of less than an hour, and I find that a dive bezel, even on land, is the best timing instrument that watchmaking has yet devised, as it's easier to simply read a radial 60-minute scale than the sub-register of a conventional chronograph. The dial is beautifully made, all applied indices. You'll also note the size of the plots grant an immense amount of luminescence. The hands are beautifully finished with a satin metallic grain, and unconventionally a cathedral-style hour hand, something you might expect to see on a vintage pilot's watch. Nevertheless, highly legible in day or night. Features on this watch, just above, as you can see, the power reserve scale. So Grand Seiko doesn't just give you a constant operation indicator in the seconds hand, and by the way, we will see the wonderfully quirky counterweighted luminescent bulb on that continuously revolving seconds hand when we do our lume shot, but you have the power reserve to know if the watch is close to dropping dead, not just whether it's running, but whether it is well wound before you take the plunge. A date window, let's talk a little bit about what is inside. 200 meters water resistant, screw down crown. It has a nice solid stem and stem tube assembly. It doesn't have any gratuitous movement when you withdraw it. Inspires confidence. Screwed in case back with the Grand Seiko Lion blazon. Inside, Grand Seiko spring drive technology, which requires a little bit of telling. This is caliber 9R85, and a spring drive is a mechanically powered quartz watch, if that makes sense. You have a spring that's wound by an automatic rotor that endows the watch with a 3-day power reserve. You can also wind it manually. The spring turns a mechanical drivetrain that spins a governing wheel. Unlike a Swiss balance wheel, which oscillates back and forth, the governing wheel on a spring drive moves in one direction only. As it moves, it creates an induced electrical current that activates a quartz oscillator. The quartz oscillator comes to life and generates electromagnetic forces that slow or speed up that governing wheel. So the quartz oscillator gives you quartz levels of accuracy, plus or minus 15 seconds per month. But the fact that there is no battery, there is no capacitor, all the drive of the hands as well as the governing wheel is done mechanically by the spring. Hence, spring drive, the best of both worlds. A watchmaker-built movement, not some sort of machine-made product, not an electronic watch, but you also get the precision of quartz. This is a lifetime watch and a lifetime movement. 30 joules, handmade, and quite precise, using a technology that Seiko and Grand Seiko created in-house. Additional refinements include hacking or stop seconds, and a quick set function for the date so you can rapidly cycle it should it run down. This is a fantastic way to get into Grand Seiko. If you want to venture beyond the bounds of Switzerland, and if you're truly adventurous and you wish to venture beyond European watchmaking, you have to consider something from Seiko or Grand Seiko, and spring drive being perhaps most emblematic of the company. The most vertically integrated watchmaker in the world. Well, spring drive is the way I would go. You can see this SBGA031 spring drive diver, a 200-meter dive watch, and make it yours on our website. And I'm back with the Grand Seiko SBGA031 titanium spring drive diver. Again, this is the model made from 2008 to 2016, and the standard of luminescence on this dial is world class. You can see that curious revolving lollipop-style counterweight to the seconds hand, allowing you to track it, and of course the luminescent pearl of the bezel, allowing you to easily align with the broad arrow-style minute hand for timing a dive or whatever you may wish to measure. See this one and own it by the light of day on our website.